Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Now, the Bible Bistro, you may be new to the Bible Bistro and to Daily Dose Radio. Let me just tell you what Daily Dose Radio is all about. This is a 5-minute-a-day 5-day-a-week studying the Psalms verse-by-verse podcast. And that is all that this program does. We just go through the Psalms verse by verse and expound the Psalms. I do a little teaching from the Psalms, maybe a little preaching sometimes, just for the content here in the Psalms. That's all I'm looking at, is just the Psalms. So it takes us about 4 years to go from Psalm 1, verse 1 to Psalm 150. And so that's about how long it takes for us to do verse by verse through the Psalms. Today, we're looking at Psalm 109. So we're kind of, we're through the majority of the Psalms now. We only have 41 Psalms left to go, but of course, there are some big ones coming up, and that would be Psalm 119. That's a big one. And so we'll take a lot of time with Psalm 119. I would imagine that we'll arrive at Psalm 119 sometime during the summer or fall of this year, and we'll begin to look through Psalm 119 together then. Today it's Psalm 109. Now I'm going to do the second half. I did the first half last week, and this is a prayer of David, and he is praying, and he's asking the Lord to correct the wicked man. And he actually says there, in the very beginning of the psalm, he's talking about the wicked man, and he tells the Lord, he says, "The mouth of the wicked and the deceitful are opened against me. They compass me about also with words of hatred and fought against me without a cause." So he's complaining about these wicked people and what they've done. He makes he presents the problem for us there in the first 5 verses, and then he makes his prayer, his request, and we had all those let his statements all through the remainder of the first half of the psalm. David's request, and we saw Judas was prophesied here. That comes over in Acts 1:20. Now today we're going to pick up in verse 16, and in verse 16 we have, beginning in 16 through say 20, we have what the wicked do to invite judgment, and we're only going to have 2 things. There are only going to be 2 things that the wicked do to invite judgment. So perk your ears up because it's really important to understand what those 2 things are. And then we have David's confession. I call this his confession/request. They're beginning in 21. And really it kind of goes down through the end of the psalm. But at the end of the psalm, beginning there in 28, we have this dichotomy of faith and wickedness. And we'll see how they don't compare with one another and why they don't compare with each other and how they're so different from one another. We'll talk about that as we go forward at the end of the week. So today, verses 16, 17, and 18. Let me read those. "Because that he remembered not to show mercy, but persecuted the poor and needy man, that he might even slay the broken in heart. As he loved cursing, so let it come to him. As he delighted not in blessing, so let it be far from him. As he clothed himself with cursing like as with a garment, so let it come to his bowels like water, and like oil into his bones." So the 2 things are mentioned here. Now, one of them is going to be greater than the other. The first one is, he remembered not to show mercy. This is what the wicked have done to invite judgment. They don't show mercy, but they attack the poor man. Notice that. "But persecuted the poor and needy man." No mercy, just persecution, "that he might slay the broken in heart." So you see how wicked and crooked the intent of the heart of the wicked is. That's number 1. Number 2 is, "as he loved cursing, so let it come to him." So the number one thing that he did to invite judgment was he didn't show mercy. Number 2 was he loved to curse. Now, this cursing is going to be recounted in 17, 18, 19, and 20. So, like I said, the second one is much larger in the volume of language that David gives to it, but we understand that because that was his complaint from the very beginning. The problem is The wicked have spoken against me. They have used their words and their curses and so forth. And David now is, he says, this is the attack that they've made on me. So if that's what they're going to do, let it come to him. Notice what he says here. Let it come unto him, as he delighted not in blessing, so let it be far from him. So instead of mercy, he gave persecution. Instead of blessing, he gave cursing. As he clothed himself with cursing, like as with a garment, so let it come into his bones like water, like oil into his bones, or into his bowels. Let it come into his bowels like water, and like oil into his bones. So cursing now is permeating the very person of the man, of the wicked man, because he loves it so much. He loves cursing rather than blessing. So let cursing come unto him. Well, I'll have more to say about that tomorrow as we begin with 19. So join me then here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.